I want to read a comment that someone made, and this is for you, Gwen, my dear. It says, Gwen, you're amazing to share what you did. God will use you to bring healing and strength to many who are broken. And you know, there are many, a round of applause for Gwen. It takes great courage. It takes great courage for Gwen to stand up and tell her story. And we've journeyed with Gwen through the years, and we've seen close hand the impact on her body as well that violence has had. It is not a light matter. You know, it is trauma, it is pain, it is all the hope that you have for a marriage that is broken, and hope deferred makes the heart sick. You know, so it takes a lot to rise above that. And we just go to some of the questions that we have for us this morning, Gwen.
There are many women who suffer domestic violence, whose husbands want change. What should women do? Counseling doesn't help either. I don't know how long you've lived in the marriage, because the longer you live, you tend to make it part of your life. And it might be difficult to go to a counselor, because you said counselors want help. You also need to go to the right counselor, because so many times when I had an issue, I went for counseling and they only made it worse. When they said that whatever you do, know that you cannot walk away from this. And I said, how can I not walk away from this when Mr. X doesn't want to change? And are you trying to say that my ticket to heaven will be faster because he's going to finish me, like really soon? And I asked them, I said, if your daughter was in this marriage, what would you do? And they had no answer. I said, just because I don't have a father, and he passed away, and I don't have a man, and I come to you as my spiritual guide, and you tell me, just make it work. How can you just make it work? Can you come and live with me? Or I said to them, I said to this pastor, I said, can you give me in written that he will never raise his hand on me or never cause any abuse? वो तो मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ sister, वो तो God भी नहीं कर सकता. You know, the abuser doesn't want to change, and pastors don't want to fix it. They don't want to address the issue because they might be scared that they lose the sheep from the church. But the woman is suffering. It's a real issue. And you cannot just whitewash it and say that it will be okay.
It's not okay. I guess from everything Gwen is saying, that domestic violence isn't okay. And the question is, how long do you tolerate it? Is that your portion, to tolerate someone hitting you repeatedly and just accepting it because you're in a relationship, you're in a marriage? I think those are the real key questions, because most Christians in particular find that they can have many different reasons to justify remaining based on the scriptures. God hates violence, you know, and it just goes on, but they don't really counteract it with the violence that the person is feeling and is experiencing, rather than divorce is like violence, it clothes them with violence. And, you know, divorce is not the answer in a normal situation, because God has not designed a man to beat a woman up, right? But because we live in a fallen and a broken world, if we're in that situation where the person is unwilling to change, then for our own health, mental health, our well-being, our safety, our security, the security of our children, we have to be willing to do what we need to remain in a safe environment. And God wants us to be safe. He doesn't want us to be tortured, right? We don't need to be tortured for Christ. He doesn't expect that of us, right?
And I believe that if you get the right counseling, you don't have to end in divorce. If the man wants to change,
Exactly.
God can work a miracle. I do not believe in divorce. I believe that there can be change, there can be hope, but you need to seek right help.
Yeah. And you need, it's a journey, right? It's a journey of working together to mend, to fix the brokenness in our lives. And can I tell you something about domestic violence? It doesn't just appear. There's a history and a pattern of violence in the family that the young boy is simply following through. And many times people don't like to believe that. Violent people come out of violent homes. Whether they profess to be Christians, profess to be of faith or not, if there is violence in their home, it goes from one generation to another. A boy has seen his mother being beaten, and so when he gets married and he is angry, guess what he does? And when you bring children up in that environment where they see a pattern of dealing with things where the husband raises their hands, hits violently the mother, the kids grow up seeing it. You are raising boys to believe that it is okay to beat a woman, and you're raising girls to believe it is okay to be beaten by a man. So when people in violent relationships, it goes beyond their own need and self-preservation. It goes to the next generation of their children. What example are they sending to their offspring? And that is kind of quite an important thing. This is what one of the ladies have asked. Why is it during domestic violence, women take it from men and never give back at the same time? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth makes the whole world blind, right? Besides, men are stronger than women. And so, you know, that is not the answer. It'll be two broken people beating each other up. And, you know, sometimes women do lash back because that's a human instinct for survival. And then the man says, hey, I'm not the one that's the abuser. She beats me too. Come on, have you not heard that? You know, but who initiates the abuse? Who is the abuser? They are also victims of their own circumstances, but they're making somebody else a victim. And then the question goes on to say, why is there pressure on women not to take a stand when there's a child in the family? I think it goes on to what Gwen said about log kya bolega.
Yeah. I think even in my case, it was so hard. I mean, I had a 2-month baby, and I was like, I cannot be here because I cannot have my son watch this and think it's acceptable behavior. Tomorrow he will be a man, he will not respect me, and he will go on to doing the same. And for that very reason, I said, I do not want this cycle in my life. I need to break it.
That's right. Yeah.
And it came with a lot. It came with a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about me. My name was taken to different places, but I don't care. I said, you know what? I'm not going to care. I need to do what is right. And if he doesn't want to change, I want the change.
If he doesn't want to change himself, you have to change your circumstances to bring healing, hope for your next generation to not have those patterns, you know, in their life. This person says, waiting patiently and praying instead of divorce. Can there be a change in an abusive husband? I wait patiently for the Lord for him to answer. And sometimes he asks us to use our common sense. Can people change? Yes, they can change. There's no doubt about that, right? But people can only change when they want to change. So when you have a pattern of behavior that demonstrates that the person is unwilling or unable to do what it takes for them to have a change in their behavior, then you are living in a situation that will not change. As much as you may hope or desire or wait patiently, patience is not the ingredient that brings change. If that was so, most women living in domestic violence would have changed situations, because really it takes a lot for a woman to rise up and say enough is enough. They wait first, right? They take it. So Gwen's illustration is so clear. You take a little, you take some more, you take some more. But how long do people wait?
I think also being Christians, there's so many scripture verses of saying, be the woman. The Proverbs 31, the Psalms 31, Proverbs 31, correct, sorry. The Proverbs 31, be that woman. I mean, be the perfect woman. And I said, what about you being the man from 1 to 30? I'll be the 31.
That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah, well said, Gwen. I think that's going to be the new mantra now, you know. If you be the Proverbs man, then I'll be the Proverbs woman.
Does domestic violence only mean physical abuse? What about mental, verbal, and emotional? I think it always starts from mental, verbal, and emotional to build the stage for the physical. Run you down, isolate you, run you down, isolate you. And that whole pattern starts when you start believing the lies for him to make a platform to say, now you deserve it.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? I think, and I think for people that suffer, it's realizing in the early stages of abuse that you don't have to wait until it gets so bad. Verbal, emotional abuse is still abuse. It's not how God designed a man to treat you. That's not the role. He's supposed to be a provider, a protector, a loving husband. And when he speaks words that tear you down and not build you up, that's just one step away from then demonstrating that you are worthless. And I think what Gwen said is so true. When you come to a place where you are isolated, in a space where you are made to believe that somehow you are not good enough, and you begin to believe that lie, it paralyzes you. And from that place of your paralysis, you think that there is no other option for you but to receive what is due to you. That's called grooming. And that's what the abuser does. They groom their victim to become a victim. So for women, it's at that point of grooming to say, no, that is not acceptable. You cannot speak to me like this. Because as soon as you allow that to happen, you're going down a slippery slope. And you know, where do you draw the line then? Do you have another question, Gwen?
Which is the right place to go for help when family doesn't come forward? It's a big one.
You know, shame just robs us. Shame just robs us, and it robs families from getting the help that they really need. And I think a lot of women genuinely believe their families want to help, and if they go to their in-laws, who have lived with it a lot of times, right? They don't get that help. They get that tolerated. You know, I've put up with so much. I mean, your typical Indian wife that would, mother that would say, but I went through so much, and look, if I can do it, you can do it. So it's okay. This is how it is. Don't let other people see. We are supposed to be a perfect family.
घर की बात घर पे ही रहना चाहिए, बाहर नहीं जाना चाहिए. That's what they say.
Right? That's what people say. So young girls go for help and they don't get the help. Because that's the way society. So how do you break out of that?
I think they're just creating an environment for you to be abused and just be in that place. They don't want you to get help because they don't want the family to be put to shame.
Yeah.
But I think that's when you need to understand that they don't value your life. Because if they really valued you, they would get help as a family.
Yeah.
And there are people there are counselors, good counselors, who can help people
whole
journey,
family.
the whole family journey together. It's you standing your ground and saying, I want this.
Yeah. And the other question was, can domestic violence be hereditary? I think it needs to be rephrased because actually domestic violence is hereditary. You know, it's statistically, it is proven that, you know, this is what, you know, it is hereditary. And help, I think, needs to be, as Gwen so rightly said, for the whole family. And help is available. People don't have to live with that, right?
Yeah. The last question, what if your parents, especially your mother, doesn't support you? What if she says it must be your fault?
You know, that's a very, very real and a very sad problem. I'm a mother. I have 2 young daughters. And sometimes I don't understand how any mother can blame their child. People aren't perfect. Our daughters are not perfect. But does their imperfections give them the right to be abused? It doesn't, right? Just because you're imperfect doesn't mean to say that you're subject to abuse. And I think the greater issue across our country today with domestic violence, which is so prevalent, is that a woman is dependent, is a dependent on a man or on her extended family to support her. A woman can't leave a relationship even if they are battered black and blue if they don't know where to go. Because where do you go if your husband is the perpetrator of a crime and your parents feel that they don't want the shame or they think it's your fault? And I think in many ways what we try to do across the demographics in our city is giving women the skill sets that they need in order to be self-reliant. Because statistically, when a woman is self-reliant, it gives them the gift of choice. Then I can choose to come out of the situation and look after myself and my children. But if I don't have the capacity to do that, I don't have a choice. Do I? Where would I go? Who will look after me? Who will care for me? These are real questions, right? So it goes beyond the emotive issue of the trauma of the beating. And part of that abuse cycle will be, you don't deserve anything. This is your portion. Even your parents think you are X, Y, and Z. So it just locks women up. And I think it takes a whole generation to say, women, marriage is not the ultimate answer to all of life's issues. That we all need to have the skill sets that we need in order to live life as independent thinking women, adults, that have the gift of choice. Right? I mean, the reason why we educate our girl child in this country, and we have such an emphasis on educating the girl child, is because if the girl child is not educated, she doesn't have choice. And that cycle is just perpetuated. So no, I don't believe at any age a woman doesn't have the capacity to retrain and get the skills that she needs. Right? No matter what it is, you can find something to do.
Yes.
There's work out there. It's possible.
And maybe even if he looks at a woman working, he'll have more respect. Maybe he'll change the way he thinks. You know, I always hope for the best.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, we can hope, but we can't change the way a person thinks.
Correct.
We can't. We can will, we can want, we can hope. But if they don't see value in you, you could be earning way more than them. And actually that just makes it worse, because then their identity and their self-worth
Insecure.
Yeah, they become so insecure. But I think every young girl right across our cities need to understand that in order to live life abundantly, they need to have the gift of choice. Choice in every situation. And economic choice is imperative because that's what unlocks the key in most women's lives. I want my girls to be economically self-sufficient. And it's not a bad thing. Our mothers and our fathers raised us to feel and to believe that the pinnacle of our success was when we got married. Yay! That's it! I married her off! Now I don't have to worry about it. Right? Come on. So you didn't really bother about your career. You didn't really bother about that stuff because you were married. And then when things didn't go according to plan, the woman was disempowered. So even as you raise your children, raise your girls to have the choice, to have careers, to know what they're doing, to use their giftings. You know, even if they're in happy relationships, not just in relationships that are not working, even in a happy relationship, they can find fulfillment in using the talents, the gifts that God has given them to find fulfillment beyond the four walls of the home or in the kitchen, right? Some politician recently said, oh, we don't want to really listen to her. Her place is in the kitchen. Don't listen to my wife. Her place is in the kitchen. You're like, hello? But that's a prevalent thing, right?
Yes.
But if we give our children and if we give ourselves the ability to build up our skills and use our skills, then we'll have choice.
So I had this this guy friend of mine. He discovered that his wife cheated on him, like all the way. She went with another man, and she cheated on him, and he abused her like anything, like physically. And I didn't know exactly what to say to him because obviously I'm against it. But the fact that that woman just didn't have a conscience and he obviously lost it. What should have I done in that time? Because I just had a blank face.
So you feel that if someone does something wrong, that punishment is... So it's okay for him to punish her. I think that can be a lot of people's thinking by saying it's justifiable because she did X, Y, Z. You know, nothing makes violence acceptable. And once that pattern begins, no one's saying the girl was right, okay? And we don't know the whole story of what brought her to that place. If her cup of love was empty and he was emotionally torturing her, he may have just been part of the reason why she went down a road that she was never designed to go down. But, you know, her actions didn't make it okay for her to be punished, right?
Violence is not accepted.
Correct.
It's like drinking the dirty water, like even little of it. It's not good.
And somehow I think, especially, I was talking to someone recently and they said, hey, you know, Naomi, why do you want to go down this route with addressing domestic violence? This is the way our country is. People get beaten, women get beaten, we know what happens, we've seen our mothers beaten. If a man beats us, we take it. We lift our head up, we raise the kids, we cook better.
Wear lots of makeup to hide the scars.
We wear lots of makeup to hide the scars, but it's okay. And that's what society puts across so that people continue to live in these oppressive situations. And it's only when a generation of women rise up to say, actually, it is not okay. And I have the power of choice to say it is not okay. that society suddenly thinks, okay, our women, our girls deserve the respect and dignity, right? I saw that ad, did you see it? Give a woman the dignity she deserves. Have you seen that ad? Plastered across our city. Give a woman the dignity she deserves. And what was right there next to the smiling woman? Gas, cooking gas. Come on, you've seen it. It's actually saying women's role, place, dignity is in the kitchen. Right? Come on, you've seen the ad, right? You've seen the ad? But until our society gives the women the dignity that goes beyond the kitchen and treats a woman the way God intends her to be treated, those mindsets and belief systems will affect their actions. It's in the mind first, right? If I think it's okay, then I can do it. It doesn't start with the action. So it's when the mindsets shift that we find that the actions in society will shift. Yeah? Brilliant. Okay. Well, we move. Yeah, sure. Okay, tell us.
Yeah, so my mother, like Gwen, she literally picked me up and ran away from my dad when I was like 9 months old. And I was single-handedly raised by my mom. And, but she had so much of trauma and pain in her, even though she was independent, everything. And at the age of 56, she passed away. But she raised me to be like independent and always told me like, you know, you have a career, you do your thing, you know, and think a lot of times before you commit to something, yeah, and choosing a life partner. But now that my dad is also no more. And so now in this situation, everybody around me, I mean, my mom is not there to defend me. Everybody around me keeps always saying, like, you know, settle for anyone, settle for any ordinary man for that matter. And, you know, they just want to see me settled. And I'm like, I have so many hopes and dreams for my life, and even for my life partner. And I know, I pray about it every day. And I know that this is the kind of person that I want. And I have those hopes and my dreams. So I'm like praying and waiting for that right person. And I believe that I will get that. I will not have the same marriage that my parents had. I will definitely not have that. But how do I, you know, cope up with the constant taunting that I have, you know? It's like, you know, I get it all the time. Like, you know, just settle, just somehow get married. And then if anything goes wrong, there's nobody even to defend me, right? So, I mean, I deserve a really good life partner, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. You deserve a really good person.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that kind of a situation?
I really hear you, because somehow our society feels that the pinnacle of our success is when we get married. And it doesn't matter who you marry, but for God's sake, marry is what they say. You know, that's the thing. And the worst part is when you cross 26, 27, oh boy, then the volume is getting higher. Then you become 28, 29, your mother or the women in your life and other people around, they're getting worried now. You know, my view is that if God is gracious to us, we have about a good 75 years. The Bible says 70, which is 70, but we get 5 more years for bonus. But if I have 75 years of my life, then when I'm 30, I still have a long way to go. I still have 45 years. And do I want to spend 45 years with the wrong person? That's like a life sentence. I'd rather be 40 and find the right person and live my life well and enjoy my life, because life is for living, right? To do the fun things, travel, enjoy friendships, you know, enjoy your career, do other things rather than every day feel tormented into thinking, I need to find a man. And when we get into that zone, can I tell you, we become unattractive. Because even when the right man comes along, he will get put off by our neediness. Because then all of a sudden we need him, we need that man. Anyone slight potential, oh my God, he could be it. I saw this guy today, you know, right? And we want to be doing our thing, enjoying our life, finding fulfillment in everything that we do, so that we are then more attractive to the right person that values us as a thinking, independent, whole person. You know, so don't allow the voices around you to drown out the voice of your Father in heaven that says he loves you just as you are. You don't have to be with a man to be loved, valued, have a life around you. And you know, there could be some people that actually never marry. And that is also okay. It's better than being in a bad relationship where you're beaten black and blue and when you're miserable and you don't want to live. Right? So be happy. Enjoy your life. You know, do the things that God has gifted you with. And then the right person will come along, whatever stage that is. And then it will be good. I say that so confidently when I got married really young, so I'm really sorry about that. I met my husband when I was really, really young, and I consider myself really blessed because we've journeyed through life together. But I appreciate the fact that not everybody gets married young, and I've told my children to really wait until they find the right person rather than being in a hurry. And a lot of times, you know, people marry young as well because they're looking to escape. So we have to create homes where girls don't want to escape. Because when they do, they'll take their time. They'll find the right person.